and a hurricane plan. Hear me no man. Hurricane damage is beyond your control. Surviving the aftermath is up to you. Have a hurricane plan. It can save your life and your family too. Prepare for hurricane. Your hair prepare for hurricane.
Welcome back. With the details to the news for Thursday, November 17th, 2022, I am Sherry-Ann Noel. It has been 4 days to date since the Grenada Technical and Allied Workers Union, GTAU, called on its workers at the Grenada Ports Authority to down tools after one female member of staff was given a dismissal letter on Friday, 11th November, for alleged breaches. On Thursday, private sector representative in the Senate, Senator the Honorable Salim Rahman, who also holds the position of First Vice President of the Grenada Chamber of Industry and Commerce, GCIC, along with Second VP Colin Francis and Executive Director of the GCIC, Pettifer Lewis, weighed in on the negative impact that the industrial action is having on the local economy. Senator Rahman says with an already struggling food supply chain as a result of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the actions by TAU to call on its workers to down tools is not in the best interest of the country. He says the issue is no longer a private one but a public one, and as such, good sense must prevail in the interest of all parties involved.
We see that based on the press release that was given by the Port Authority, that the letter to sever relations with the employee was given on Friday, the 11th. And we see that on Monday, the 14th, the next working day, not Monday afternoon, not Monday midday, but Monday morning, we see strike action being taken. So the question is, what procedures have they followed? How could they go from a dismissal letter on Friday to strike action on Monday? Who is going to be held to account for the consequences that came thereafter? We saw the media, the news reports Monday and Tuesday. We saw and heard firsthand the plight of the traffickers. These are some of the most vulnerable in our society. Who is going to refund them? Is government going to refund them? It's not government's fault, is it? So who is going to refund these people and the economy as a whole?
Executive Director of the Grenada Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Pettifer Lewis, says times have changed and the way we conduct business between employers, union and employees need to be revisited.
We cannot in a modern time be operating with ancient methods, and resorting to strike as the first option is a no-no. What this opportunity presents, as far as I'm concerned, is an opportunity for us to revisit all that is in place now and how effective that is for us now and going forward. As my colleagues mentioned, we just come out of a very rough period. We're still coming out. And we have been making efforts to engage the region in conversation, in networking, in coming together to solve our problems in the region.
Ms. Lewis says the industrial action does not present a good look for the country, especially in a time when the Chamber has been working assiduously to improve trade on the island, with a special meeting involving over 24 chambers in Grenada in the coming week.
I am concerned that in terms of moving this country forward, that we have to do things differently. Because we can't be bringing in investors, bringing people, trying to trade, and then raise a bottleneck on the port. And I'll tell you further, one of the topics that we have for our discussion, because the first day is our strategic plan in terms of how we plan to move forward as a network, is the role of ports in enhancing regional trade. And I'll tell you, we had a presentation less than a month ago, Salim, where we were surprised to realize that Grenada's port is one of the most inefficient. So I am saying that I like to look at the positive on any situation. And I think that this has presented an opportunity for us to revisit all the processes the agreements and what it is that we need to have in place to ensure that we have stability in this country.
Second VP of the GCIC, Colin Francis, says the actions of the unions can only be referred to as an inconvenience that is not justly warranted, especially when we are within the peak season.
You know, you think about the Grenadian economy that's been rebounding in recent times, and especially coming out of a tumultuous COVID period. And to now have this inconvenience in a peak season for tourism and for other sectors as well. Tourism being the major income earner for our economy here. It's an inconvenient time. It's an absolute inconvenient time where we now have goods on the port affecting the livelihoods of an entire nation, right? Because employment is affected, tourism is affected, fuel is affected, and the delay isn't helping anyone. So from our perspective at the Chamber, it's really to say to all the parties, understanding the role that unions play in our society, understanding the role that private sector plays, and understanding the role that government plays in our society, saying to all parties, please come to the table and let us resolve this impasse, because it is wreaking havoc on an already ailing economy.
Meanwhile, government has stepped in to provide remedial assistance to the industrial dispute at the Grenada Ports Authority. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell announced that the Minister for Labour, Honorable Claudette Joseph, and the newly appointed Labour Commissioner, Valerie Thomas, met with union representatives and senior members of the Port Authority to chart the way forward and find quick solutions to the issues faced by workers. Prime Minister Mitchell said he is not only concerned about the effects the dispute is having on revenue generation, but how the citizens, traffickers, shipping agencies, and vendors who are dependent on the goods and services are being affected.
I'm not just concerned about the impact of the industrial action on government's coffers. I'm actually more concerned about the impact on the citizens of the country. The citizens need the port in order to trade. Businesses need the port in order to trade, both to export and to receive goods which are coming in. And so there are several businesses that are impacted by the industrial action on the port, whether it's boats that are bringing in goods and services, fuel tankers, whether it's or traffickers who've not been able to send their goods to Trinidad in the last couple of days. So we are obviously very concerned about the industrial action.
Prime Minister Mitchell is optimistic that good sense will prevail and workers will return to work in a short period.
We certainly expect that, at least from a government perspective, that the grievance procedure set out in the Labour Relations Act will be followed and will be complied with. And it's always regrettable when industrial action is taken, particularly strike action, at the very first sign of a disagreement or a dispute. So we are hoping that rationality, proportionate action, and common sense will prevail, and we are optimistic that this matter can be brought to a conclusion speedily.
This is the National Report. The news will continue after the break.
Have you noticed an increase or decrease in your electricity bill? You know that changes in the fuel and non-fuel rates affect your bill. You should also be aware that changes in household activities affect your bill. Ask yourself these questions. Have the rates changed? Have there been more people at your home? Have your children been on holiday? Have you used your fan or air conditioning unit more often to beat the heat? Are any of your electrical appliances or equipment faulty? Have you added any new appliances such as transformers, water heaters, or pumps? Make it a habit to understand any changes on your electricity bill. For more factors that affect your bill, visit www.grenlec.com. Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Welcome back. The COVID-19 Economic Support Secretariat (CES) is collaborating with the Grenada Development Bank to review and find alternative support for unsuccessful applicants under the grant program. The Project Oversight Committee is in place to review the list of applications that have not met the criteria for grant support. Under the previous administration, the Secretariat gave out monthly checks to persons and small businesses who were affected by the COVID-19. But since assuming office, the government of Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell revamped the CESS program to provide grant support of up to $30,000 to new and existing small businesses affected by the pandemic. So far, over 150 new and existing businesses have been supported under the program. A total of $2.4 million has been paid out. Program Manager of the COVID-19 Economic Support Secretariat CESS, Chanel Andrews, told members of the media on Wednesday denial letters have not been issued to unsuccessful applicants, as the Secretariat is working with the GDB to secure alternative assistance.
We have not started sending out any denial letter as yet, or only under the unemployment benefit we would have denied applications. The reason being, we are also working closely with the Grenada Development Bank. So persons who may not be able, for instance, we have had some applications from persons who are gainfully employed. We have not started processing these applications as yet, but it's our intention to work along with the Grenada Development Bank to see what sort of assistance we can provide to these persons. So we have not officially denied anybody as yet, but we would put it on a pending list for review, because we also have a project oversight committee that the person may not have met the criteria, but we can take it to the committee for review as well.
She made a call for applicants to ensure all information on the forms are accurate to avoid any delays in the process.
There are persons who we are out in the field every day visiting, so I encourage you to ensure that you answer your phones, because some persons, they are very hard to reach. You may provide a number and then we cannot get access to you, so that would cause delay.
And finally, in the news, a two-day workshop concluded earlier this week for meteorologists, fisherfolk, forecasters, and others involved in marine under the theme Improving Marine Meteorology, Service Provision for Grenada, Coastal and Open Seas Activities. The workshop was facilitated by the World Meteorological Organization and is implemented under the umbrella of the Cruise Caribbean Initiative. It is a project that began in 2018 and will close at the end of December 2022, funded through the Climate Risk and Early Warnings Initiative. Several components are included under the project and is implemented by several bodies such as the World Bank, United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, and the World Meteorological Organization. Barbara Tapia, Technical Coordinator for the Regional Office for North America, says the workshop will help improve communication among fisherfolk, marine users, and the public.
Since the reform of WMO, the World Meteorological Organization, we're focused in different sectors and also services for the community. And so how the Met Service can support the end user and different type of services. So marine service is one of those. So in this type of workshop, especially this one, is the primate one, and then also is the one workshop that we wanted to have between the Met Service and also the end user, because it's the only way to get in touch and to know what is the need of the end user. Sometimes, because I'm a meteorologist, sometimes we prepare forecasts and we don't know in advance what are the needs for the user. So this is the starting point of that activity, and it's the only way to enhance the relationship between the users and the Met Service.
Cassia Johnson, forecaster at the Met Office, said the training was informative. She said that they will be able to fill the communication gap.
With this workshop, we figured out some of the needs that we are not meeting as the Met Office for them. They also informed us that we should do some outreach program, educational programs, to get the people understanding some of the jargons and the terms that we use, and for us to get a better relationship with communication, with us telling them what the forecast is, them communicating to us what they're actually seeing when they're out there.
Representative from Adult and Teen Challenge Grenada Inc., Mr. Davidson Paul, also involved in sea moss and fishing production, shared his experience from the two-day workshop.
A very informative workshop, noting that the Met Office and the guys who out at sea should correspond together for the safety of everyone, as well as information could be shared, because them might be in the office, the guys out of the sea will experience firsthand what the weather is like. Then that will give them a better initiative how to predict and how to issue warnings.
Now for a recap of the top story. GCIC calls for speedy resolution in ongoing industrial dispute at Grenada Ports Authority. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Sherry Ann Noel, thanking you for viewing.